Hey guys, it's Heather from Here She Grows and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm tackling a spot in a corner of my garden on the east side that's changed considerably over the years, which is pretty typical of any garden. These gardens that I've had, I've been in this home for over 20 years, so we started out at one time very sunny, and then we've slowly evolved into shadier spaces, and which is the case in this corner. And I've got another issue that I'm tackling. My neighbor decided on the other side of the fence to line the entire fence line with river birch. So now, not only is it going to get even shadier, it's going to get drier, and I don't have drip irrigation. I am the irrigation when I can get out here and do it. So I'm going to have to be hyper focused on making sure things in this space are going to be watered because it's changing considerably. So the spot here is anchored by vanilla strawberry, panicle hydrangea, and then some North Pole arborvitae behind it. And what I've done over time is I've lifted the skirt. I did a video on lifting tree skirts a few videos ago. You can check that out. I'll link it above. But I lifted the skirt on that, and that gives me an opportunity to get creative underneath and plant beneath it. And for a number of years, actually for quite a long time, I was inspired by a book, and it's always kind of been in the back of my mind, The Jewelbox Garden. It's a book by Thomas Hobbes, and I think it came out in '06, and I probably borrowed it from the library years ago. But it stuck with me, and the whole premise of a jewel box garden, doesn't it sound beautiful? The whole premise of a jewel box garden is a garden that's anchored by beautiful foliage and rich colors, succulents, and it's not so heavy on flowers, but it's kind of got all those elements of foliage and succulents and bold foliage colors woven together to create a jewel box. And I just thought that was such a beautiful idea, and it's what I want to accomplish in this space. So as all gardens do, they evolve, and when I first started here, this was extremely sunny. So it's obviously changed, gotten shadier, drier, and I've got plants in here that are just kind of getting through. They don't look very well. They're a coneflower, and then there's some Weigela in here, there's some Achillea, and some perennial geranium. I'm gonna rehome those in another spot of the garden and probably give a few of those away. But I wanna show you what jewels I've chosen for my jewel box garden. Here are my ingredients, or my color palette. So, and one of them I don't advise you plant right now, and I'm gonna explain to you in a moment why that is. So first off, my friend had this gorgeous blue angel hosta in the corner of her garden, and it was beautiful. So that stuck with me, and I absolutely love the foliage on that and that glaucous color that the foliage takes on, and it gets huge, like 3 feet tall and maybe 3 feet wide, but it looks like a shrub. So my big plant here is the blue angel hosta, and that's going to go where the Weigela is, right underneath this. And I thought it would be a beautiful combination because directly behind it is a royal purple smoke bush. So I was thinking in terms of how is that going to look together, the glaucous blue foliage of the hosta with the royal purple smoke bush backdrop. I think that screams jewel tones. So I love that combination. So blue angel hosta, and then I picked some burgundy glow, ajuga or bugleweed as my ground cover. So that's going to be my fill-in. And what's really nice about this plant, when you take them out of the container, I only bought 2 containers of this because it's really root bound. But if you can see here, there's lots of plantlets in here. So I'm going to divide all this up and make more out of a single plant. So look at the colors on that. So there's lots of burgundies and purples and creams and greens, and really pretty. So more jewel tones. And then my succulent combo are these Echeveria. And same situation here, like the ajuga. So lot of pups on these, so I can make a lot of little plants. So these will be ground cover carpet in front of it, and the varieties I have are, or it's also called hens and chicks. This is called black hens and chicks, and I think this is red heart maybe. Yep, this is red heart hens and chicks. So I'm going to get a lot of plants out of these little guys. They got a lot of pups on them. And then the one that I want to talk about that's most important, and I've seen on a lot of Instagram feeds lately of things that you should be doing in September, like perennial division, which is very important, and it's something you do want to do. However, if you live in a cold climate, it's not something you want to do with certain grasses. And what I mean by that is there are different types of ornamental grasses. There's your warm season grasses, and your cool season grasses. And what I'm going to be planting in here is a Hakonechloa, or Japanese forest grass, called all gold. So this is a warm season grass. I've got 3 of them, going to plant them about 2 feet apart, 2 feet on center. But the reason why this is important, and it's kind of a crapshoot because now we're getting to the middle of September, and I spoke with my friend Brent Horvath. So Brent is the owner of Intrinsic Perennial Garden up in Hebron, Illinois, and he is all-knowing on natives and grasses, and I mean he's created a lot of new interesting plants, and I mean one of them I've mentioned in a previous video, a flowering one, was American Gold Rush Rudbeckia. He is the guy to go to find out everything you want to know about grasses too. So I reached out to Brent and said, hey, this was a couple years ago and it was like late August, and I said there was a Sporobolus or prairie dropseed that I wanted to divide. It was probably August 30th, and I said, am I taking a risk by dividing this and transplanting it right now? Is it too late? And his words were, it's pretty late and it's probably going to survive, but there's a chance that it won't, because warm season grasses like it warm. So they put their growth on, they start growing their roots like June through September when that soil is nice and toasty. So right now the soil is warm, but it's going to be cooling off, and they develop their roots slowly. So that's the rub there. I may not have enough of a root system developed on these guys by the time my ground gets super cold. They may not make it, so I'm kind of taking a risk. Cool season grasses grow like in the spring and the fall. That's when they put their growth on, and they tend to grow faster. However, these take their time. Warm season grasses take their time growing, and they put all their efforts into growing below ground, their root systems, before it starts showing up top. And it takes them several years to catch up to what a cool season grass might do in a year's time. But it's still going to fill in and be, absolutely beautiful. So I am taking a chance. So I would advise, when you see all these people recommending that you divide all your ornamental grasses right now and make more, yeah, that's a great thing to do, but you want to be conscious of whether or not you have a warm season or a cool season grass. And so in my description below, I will have lists of warm season and cool season grasses, so you know what's safe to divide in a cold climate and what you should wait on for next spring. So that's my Hakonechloa, or Japanese forest grass. What did I say, with all gold, right? Yep, all gold. And then I also have a painted fern. It's called Crested Surf, that is in another part of the garden that has never really done well. So I'm going to relocate that, transplant it here, and probably add to it. There's a couple heuchera that I want to put in there, but I couldn't find the ones that I wanted. So if you're familiar with heuchera, there's a lot of beautiful foliage colors, and I've got other heucheras in the garden. Wild berry is one of them. I've got silver gumdrop. I've got caramel. I mean, you can't go wrong with a heuchera. However, heucheras do tend to heave in the fall and winter too, so that might be something that I'm probably going to plop in the springtime next year when it's got plenty of time to get rooted in throughout the next growing season. So first up, I'm just going to clear the space. And then I need to grab some compost from my tumbler, because I like to mix a little compost in when I'm dropping in some new perennials, and transform this space into my jewel box garden. I cleared the space, but I've got mint here, and I've had mint here for probably 15 years, if not longer. The mint came in on a burning bush that my mom gave me, and it was on the root ball that she had, and I plopped that burning bush here, and I've since removed the burning bush, got rid of it, but the mint has remained as it always does. I mean, you never are completely, once it's in the ground, it's extremely difficult to get rid of. And mint forms this root system. There's rhizomes that just spread like a very dense, it's almost like an artery system, carpet of roots underneath the surface, and they just pop up everywhere. So I've been battling this for years and removing it, and any little chunk that's left over forms more roots, and then you've got the plant, and it just perpetuates itself. And it really, the bees love it, they love the flowers on it, but mint is a really difficult thing to get rid of in your garden. So I'm going to clear some of this and probably have to deal with more next year, but it's mostly clean, and now I can get on to planting. angel hosta will get to be about 4 feet wide. I think I said 3 feet earlier in the video. It's about 3 feet tall, and then the scape is even taller, but about 4 feet wide. So this is a big one. So I want to make sure that I'm locating it properly, and at 4 feet wide, I've got the fence here, so I want to make it so that it's about 2 feet off the fence on center. So when I say on center, I just mean measuring from the center of the plant to whatever my boundary is. So I can move this back a little bit. And then I like to go all the way around and kind of move my, see what it's going to look like when I'm moving that as my center point, and what my spacing will be like from this side. So I just kind of eyeball, and then my North Pole arborvitae will fill in. So this should be a nice full space, nice lush space when it all finally grows in. I was digging and I hurt this little toad's leg. I hope he's going to be okay. I love toads. I feel so bad. See him? Poor little guy. He's got him with the shovel in his back rear leg. Oh, damn it. Dude, I am so sorry. Oh. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get you out of here. Oh, you're happy. Yay. Okay, keep going. Oh, I dropped him and he peed all over my all over my kneeler. You could probably tell as I was digging this hole that it's extremely dry right here, and it's just going to get worse as these river birches get bigger. So I like to dig when I'm planting perennials and actually anything. I like to dig a hole at least twice the size of the root ball, and then the depth would be the same as it is in the can. So the hole is ready to go. I'm going to add some compost, add a little bit of aeration in there and some nutrients, and set my first plant in place. Pretty root bound too, so that's when the knife comes in really handy for loosening things up so that it's not going to girdle. And if I don't loosen them up, there's the chance that the roots will just keep circling and girdling and it'll choke it out. So I do like to get in there with my hori, cut an X in the bottom just to start fanning those roots. And don't worry about being too delicate with perennials. You can move them around and toss them about. You don't want to remove too many roots, but you do want to loosen them out so they learn to grow in a healthy way. I do tend to plant a little bit higher because my soil is so dense, so full of clay, and planting just slightly higher than you would find it in the can helps with drainage, helps the water flow away from it, so that it just makes life a little bit easier for the plant. And what I mean by planting a little higher, maybe just an inch or so above the soil level, and then I'll go in later and mulch it. For the holes for the Japanese forest grass, I'm really being conscious of digging a bigger hole because I really want that soil to be really nice, so it's encouraged to fan its roots out as quickly as possible because time is running short for getting these in the ground, and hopefully they'll be back next year. I just don't know. It might be a little too late for these guys, but we'll see. But hopefully giving them a really good planting hole and some nice compost will help them settle in sooner than later. got my hole prepared for that crested fern, that crested painted fern that I was telling you about earlier in the video. And it dropped in a little bit of compost, and the soil, man, we need rain so bad. But I rescued the fern from the front. That was beneath my autumn blaze maple that is super dry over there, and it was just lingering barely. So I dug it up, and it looks pretty pitiful, but hopefully it'll bounce back. I have a feeling that it will. Full disclosure here, as soon as I got the crested surf fern planted, I wasn't confident that they were going to come back next year. So I did pop over to Home Depot and buy 3 more crested fern. And so they will look a lot better going in there. And if those other ones come around, they come around. But if not, that's my insurance policy, crested surf. Because this is the sunniest part of the bed, the front of the bed, this is where my echeveria are going to go. So I'm just going to mix them up in no particular way and take off some of the pups and spread them around, and then just let them form this nice little carpet along this sunny spot right here. Look how many babies on that one. For this last little bit, I'm taking this burgundy glow ajuga or bugleweed and just dividing it. And I've got 3 little plants that I've already made from one single container, but you can see all these individual plants in here, and a lot of perennials you can do that with. So you can actually get more bang for your buck and go in and divide them in from the way they are in the can. So I just am pulling these guys apart and plugging them in wherever I want to. And it doesn't look like much right now because things are pretty low growing, but I popped in some more painted fern from another part of the garden that was just struggling. So we'll see how it does. It's getting hit pretty hard with sun right now, but hopefully next spring it'll be interesting. We'll see. This is where your hori knife comes in handy. You can go in there, find a point that you can divide between. You can see right through here. You can get 1, probably 2, 3 plants out of this single container. And last but certainly not least, water. I'll just keep these guys watered every week, and I think everything's going to adjust really well. It's been super dry here. We don't have any rain in sight, at least for the next week, they're saying. So water is key, and everything should acclimate just fine. These are tough plants. The echeveria, the ajuga, hosta, the Japanese forest grass could be a little iffy. I have high hopes for it because hopefully I can get it rooted in before it gets really cold. And I really didn't leave any room for heuchera, so I may change this next year, move things around a little bit, but for right now, it's good, and I'm happy with what I think it's going to turn into. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.